Good morning. Thought I'd give a quick training update for the Tour Divide. Still planning on towing a line on June 10th. I think it's on the 10th, the second Friday of June in Banff. We have our reservations made. My wife is coming with me. I think I might have mentioned that in the last update. So I'm up in Pine Top today, riding some gravel on a little bit of a hill right now. Testing out some changes that I made to the bike. I think I'm gonna do this after I get to the top of this hill. All right, I think I'm good now. Popped up to about 6% there for a little while. So I need to just catch my breath. So out in Pine Top, like I said, testing some changes to my bike. Last time I gave an update, I was hiking in the forest behind my house, and now I'm up in Pine Top riding some gravel. So in between the last time and now, I went out and I rode the Fool's Loop, which is outside of Scottsdale and Phoenix. I took 4 days to do the loop, and definitely had some issues. I had put my Fred bar on that I have on my Niner, which has some Profile Design aero bars on it, and I didn't really use it a lot. The pads for the aero bar were too far back, so the edge of my elbows were on it, so that wasn't working. The other big issue I had on the third day was I was going down Mini Mine Road, which is near the Crown King Road, or the Bumblebee Road. I don't know what you want to call it, but hit a rock, bent my rim, my Velocity Cliffhanger aluminum rim, and it was enough to not keep air in. So I hit it with a rock for a while, trying to bend it back into shape. And then luckily an ATV came up, and they had some pliers. So I was able to bend it back into shape, but the tire wasn't holding air. So I was stopping to fill it up quite a bit. Ooh, a little mud. And a closed gate. Just gonna go around it. All right, so I wound up deviating from the course on the 5th day. Oh, I did take 5 days. Deviated from the route because I didn't trust that tire or that wheel, and tried to take some gravel roads back to where my car was parked in Scottsdale. And there's a lot of private property out there now that I didn't realize. So I got to a point where there were two directions the road went, and both directions it said it was private property, and that there are cameras in effect, and violators would be prosecuted. So I wound up pushing my bike up a pretty steep embankment to get onto the I-17, and just rode that into Anthem, and then took surface streets around to where my car was parked. So the last day was kind of a disappointment just because of the technical issues. My camera mount also broke. I did get some footage of the Fool's Loop. I'll probably post a video of the first few days and how things went. It was an interesting ride. Got to learn a lot about the bike. There's some fun single track at the beginning as you're leaving town, and then some gravel roads that were really washed out and chunky. I spent the first night at Horseshoe Reservoir at the campground there, and then second day I kind of screwed up. I didn't realize it was hot. It was in the 90s, and I didn't realize how long and steep the climbing was. which led me to realize that the gearing that I had on my bike was not appropriate for the weight that I was carrying. So there was one point I was on a pretty extended 8% grade, and I was in my granny gear, and I was pushing anywhere from 260 to 300 watts trying to get up that, and that's just not sustainable for me. So I wound up doing a whole lot of hike-a-bike that second day, going up those steep grades, which led me to realize I needed to change my gear ratio. I probably should have done a lot more research on gearing, locking down the specs on the bike. So that's my bad. When I got home, I looked at my Niner, and my granny gear was a 0.67, I think, 0.63, somewhere around there. And then I looked at my granny gear on as I had it configured, and it was like a 0.7 something. It was harder, definitely harder than what my Niner was. And then you add on, the extra 10 pounds that the bike weighs, and it was definitely hard enough to feel the difference. So I talked to Mike Godwin at Cyclemania. He's the one who bought the bike for me and put it together. I worked with CoMotion on the design, and he reached out to CoMotion to get ideas on what we could do to change the gear ratios, and they recommended going from a 39 tooth front sprocket to a 34 tooth front sprocket. The granny gear inside the pinion is a 0.55 gear ratio, so putting that 34 tooth in dropped the outside gear ratio from like a 1.2, I think, down to a 0.94, which dropped the granny gear ratio down to a 0.52, I think. Anyway, that's a little technical, but it made a huge difference. So I got those changes made. I put the new sprocket on. I went down to Ahwatukee and my buddy Mike Cox at Curbside Cyclery put a set of Astral Wanderlust carbon rims on my wheel. He replaced the spokes as well with some double buted spokes. And so the wheels are really nice now. I wish CoMotion had the option when I was ordering it to put carbon rims on, but that wasn't an option. So Mike did a great job. The wheels are riding really nice. I like how stiff they are, much better than the Cliffhanger aluminum rims. So once those changes were made, I decided to go out for another shakedown ride, see how things are going. And I decided to do the Monumental Loop, which is starts in Las Cruces, New Mexico, which is about a 5-hour drive from my house. I drove there. I think I got there around 2:30ish. Got some lunch, put my bike together, and I was on the road by about 3:30 in the afternoon. My goal for the first day was really to get out of town, avoid traffic in the morning, and that worked out really well. So I found a really nice camping spot and slept really good that first night. I did have a rear tire flat, as I was leaving town, and when I got onto the single track, the rear tire was going flat again. So I plugged it and filled it with air, and shortly after that the tire went flat again, and it looked like it was air was escaping from where I had plugged it, so I put in another plug, second plug, and made it to my campsite. In the morning, that tire was flat, so I looked at it again, and there was a second hole. So I plugged that hole and started riding. It kept going low, and sure enough, there was a third hole that I plugged. I was just having all kinds of trouble with that tire, and about I don't know, 28 miles into the ride, I was on a gravel road that had quite a bit of fresh gravel on it. Whoops, a little bumpy. And hit a rock that split the tire open. So I had to throw a tube into it, and this is the front tire. Booted it with Element packet, empty electrolyte packet, and that seemed to hold. There was a fast descent. Whoa, a little bumpy. Hang with me, bear with me. Almost through it, there we go. So I was riding, I got to the bottom of that hill, and at this point I don't really trust those tires. So when I got to the bottom of the hill, I checked that front tire, and yeah, it was going flat again. So I was down to my last tube. I've had, I don't know, 5 or 6 flats, more than that. I was pumping it up a lot for sure. So I made the decision to bail on the ride because the WTB Venture tires, I just don't think were appropriate for what I was doing. They are gravel tires, but they just aren't very durable, or at least that's my experience. Your mileage may vary, but I won't be buying those tires again. So decided to pull the plug. I had about 40 miles to get back to my car, so I just kind of got on pavement and hammered my way back. So day 2 was about 70 miles, and I finished just before dark back in Las Cruces. So when I got home, I decided to go back to the Maxxis icons that I had used on the Tour Divide previously. Never had a problem with my icons. I have had flats. You plug it, you're good to go. I've never had a plug not work on my icons. So, and I've never had an icon split. And I've definitely gone through some pretty aggressive terrain with those. So the challenge is my frame only accepts a 50 millimeter tire in the back. And the icon, they do sell a 2.0, which is equivalent to 50 millimeters, but they're hard to find. So Mike Godwin over at Cyclemania wasn't able to get them. So I got online, looked on eBay, and I found a bike shop in Pennsylvania that had them. So I bought a 2.0 to go in the back and a 2.2 to go in the front to give me a little more cushion. And those came in on Friday. So that's what I'm riding today, is some icons. So I think the bike is getting dialed in. I also, for the Monumental loop, I had gone back to my Jones Narwhal aero bar. It's a single aero bar, and I had put just some aero bar pads from an old set of aero bars that I had on the Jones bar itself, and that seemed to position it correctly for where I wanted my arms to be. I had a half-inch profile design armrest spacer that I put on, and that wasn't quite enough. I was still bending over a little more than what I wanted to do to be absolutely comfortable. So I hit an Ace Hardware and found some spacers and some screws to add another half inch. And I got to tell you, That 1 inch is perfect. It feels really good, natural. I don't feel like I'm compressed when I'm down in my aero bars. And right now I think I have that dialed in perfectly. So in terms of the bike at this point, I think it's pretty well dialed in. Between the drive chain changes, the wheel changes and tire change, the aero bar change, I'm really kind of liking the bike now. But today was just to kind of see how it felt with the new tires, the Maxxis Icons, and yeah, it feels like home. So in terms of my fitness level, I still have some weight to drop. My power to weight ratio is improving nicely. I still have 2 months to go. My weight loss has kind of plateaued. In terms of training for the Tour Divide, my original plan was to ride the 2019 Pinions and Pines Loop in May. And since then I found out about Ride Across Arizona, gravel ride, that I think is going to be closer to what the Tour Divide is. So I'm going to do the Ride Across Arizona. It's 620 miles, mostly gravel. Should be just a beautiful ride. It starts at the border of California and Arizona and goes to the border of Arizona and New Mexico, so west to east. And it's a bunch of roads that I haven't ridden before, so I'm really looking forward to that. It does pass right through Sholo, so that'll be interesting to see if I want to stop. But the goal is to do the whole thing. Oop, some rocks. Anyway, that's where I'm at. I think it's progressing nicely. I might change a few things about what I'm carrying for camping. Maybe reduce a little bit of weight. Look at the things that I haven't really touched. But overall, I'm happy with where I'm at, given how much time I have. But so as long as I can keep riding my bike, doing some long rides during the week, I think I'll be there. So I do have footage from both the Fools Loop and the Monumental Loop. So I'll probably put together, some videos on how those rides went. All right, I think that's it. If you have any questions about the Fools Loop, Monumental Loop, where I'm at with my training, or anything like that, leave a comment. If you like the video, subscribe, give it a like, and I'll let you know how things are going, in a couple more weeks. All right, now I'm going to focus on this ride. See ya. Ooh, snow's a little deep in places still. I was hoping that the sun would have dried this area out a little bit more than it has. I don't think I'm seeking in, so I don't think I'm doing trail damage, but I'm definitely getting sprayed with some mud. So I don't know that I'm going to do the full 40 mile that I had planned. I might cut it short just to make sure that I'm not causing damage. And so we had a snowstorm come through a few days ago. I was hoping that it would, that the trails would dry out. It's been kind of warm since then, but yeah, some deep snow, I'll tell you what.